Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this session. So we are back with a new revision session for Nta Net. I believe all of you can see my screen. Yes. So good evening and welcome to our Nta Net revision session number 6. All right. So let's move on to the first question for tonight, shall we? Yeah, let's go. Okay, here we go. Oh, here the answer has been marked. Wait. Give me a second. Yeah, now it's fine. I will share with you guys again. Yeah, because that marked portion came first. All right. So yes, we are now ready. Yes, good evening, good evening. So let's move on to the first question for tonight. I hope you guys haven't seen the answer as of yet. All right. Identify the correct statements among the following. You have to choose the correct statements. In an apology for poetry, Sir Philip Sidney argues that the poet's idea or foreconceit is a higher reality than the finished mortal work. Is that right? Ben Jonson's Timber or Discoveries is primarily a collection of original literary theories. Samuel Daniel's A Defense of Rhyme was written as a direct rebuttal to Thomas Campion's argument that English verse should follow classical quantitative meters. In his conversations with William Drummond, Ben Jonson praised Donne's The First Anniversary for its perfect adherence to classical decorum. And lastly, the War of the Theatres involved a public literary feud between Ben Jonson and his contemporaries John Marston and Thomas Dekker. So which statements here are correct? 5 statements are there. All of them are very important in their own ways, right? So tell me. A, C, E are correct. A is correct. C is correct. And E is correct. So in An Apology for Poetry, Sir Philip Sidney argues that the poet's idea or foreconceit is a higher reality than the finished mortal work. Please look up these works in great details. Samuel Daniel's A Defense of Rhyme is a response to Thomas Campion's observations in the art of English poesy, which attacked rhyme. And lastly, the War of the Theatres involved a public literary feud between Ben Jonson and his contemporaries Marston and Dekker. And this War of the Theatres happened during the Jacobean period. Jacobean period. So A, C, E are correct. A, C, E are correct. All right. Next. Which of the following works have not been written by George Eliot? Which of the following works here are not by George Eliot? Felix Holt, the Radical, Sins of Clerical Life, The Shaving of Shagpat, Romola, the Egoist. Felix Holt, the Radical, yes. Sins of Clerical Life, yes. Romola, yes. So I think the correct answer here will be A, B, D. A, B, D will be the correct answer. These are works by George Eliot. Oh, have not been written by George Eliot, yes. Which of the following works are not by George Eliot? Felix Holt, the Radical, Scenes of Clerical Life, and Romola are by George Eliot. But The Shaving of Shagpat And the egoists are not by the novelist George Eliot of the Victorian period. Yes, C and E, that's the answer. Correct. Next. Find the chronological order of publication of the following works. ये बताओ. Songs of Experience by William Blake was published in 1789. 1789. Next. A Vindication of the Rights of Woman. A Vindication of the Rights of Woman by Mary Wollstonecraft was published in 1792. 1792. Then Edmund Burke's Reflections on the Revolution in France. Reflections on the Revolution in France by Edmund Burke was published in 1790. 1790. Thomas Paine's Rights of Man was published in 1791. 1791. And William Godwin's An Enquiry Concerning Political Justice was first published in 1793. 1793. So, Edmund Burke's Reflections on the Revolution in France, then Thomas Paine's Rights of Man, Wollstonecraft's A Vindication of the Rights of Woman, Godwin's An Enquiry Concerning Political Justice, and lastly, Songs of Experience by Blake. This is the correct chronological order. Correct chronological order. All right. Please memorize the years. Keep the years in mind as much as you can. Because obviously, there will be questions. Next. Milton's Lycidas is often noted for its verse paragraphs and its irregular rhyme scheme interspersed with unrhymed lines. Which Italian poetic form did Milton adapt to create this specific structural flow? Tell me. It will be Canzani. Canzani. Canzani was adopted by Milton to create this specific structural flow in Lycidas. Lycidas is a pastoral elegy by Milton, which mourns the death of his Cambridge friend Edward King. Right? Yes. Next. In his satirical essay, The Four Ages of Poetry, 1820, Thomas Love Peacock famously argues that poetry becomes obsolete as society advances in science and reason. To which age did he disparagingly assign his contemporary romantic poets like Wordsworth and Coleridge? We know that he has made a classification of these ages: age of iron, gold, silver, brass. So, according to Thomas Love Peacock, romantic poets like Wordsworth and Coleridge, they should be in which age? We know that P.B. Shelley wrote a defense of poetry in response to this work of Thomas Love Peacock called The Four Ages of Poetry. Right. So according to Thomas Love Peacock, contemporary romantic poets like Wordsworth and Coleridge should be in the age of brass. In the age of brass. Yeah. All right. Next. Which of the following figures were core members of Bloomsbury Group? Who among the following were core members of the Bloomsbury Group? Virginia Woolf was there. Lytton Strachey was there. Then A.B. obviously would be there. A, B, C, E. Virginia Woolf, Lytton Strachey, Duncan Grant, and Clive Bell. They're the core members of the Bloomsbury Group. Bloomsbury Group. Yes. Even E.M. Foster was a part of this group. E.M. Foster. Right. So our December net batch admissions is going on right now. If you want, you can join us. And if you join us right now, you would get an early bird offer. That is, you will get our net course at a discounted price. All right. Yes. Next. Which of the following works are by John Ruskin? John Ruskin is a major art critic of the 19th century. Which of these works are by John Ruskin? A, B, D. The Stones of Venice, Modern Painters, and Unto This Last. These are works by John Ruskin. John Ruskin. And the Renaissance and Marius the Epicurean are works by Walter Pater. The Renaissance and Marius the Epicurean are works by Walter Pater. All right. The Stones of Venice, Modern Painters, and Unto This Last. All these are works by John Ruskin. I hope you all know that John Ruskin coined the phrase pathetic fallacy in his book Modern Painters. And Unto This Last, it's a very, very major work of political economy by Ruskin, which had greatly inspired Mahatma Gandhi. Yes. Next. Here you have some poetry collections and the poets, so you have to match accordingly. The Anathemata. The Anathemata. It's an epic poem by the British poet David Jones, first published in 1952. Okay, the Anathemata. It's an epic poem by David Jones. David Jones. All right. Right. Next. The North Ship. The North Ship. It's the debut collection of poems by Philip Larkin. The North Ship. It's the debut collection of poems by Philip Larkin. Philip Larkin. Next we have Paterson. Paterson poetry collection, right? Yes. Paterson is a poetry collection. It is an epic poem. Paterson. It's an epic poem by the American poet William Carlos Williams. William Carlos Williams. And Eros in Dogma. Eros in Dogma. That's also very important. Eros in Dogma. That's by George Barker. George Barker. Okay. The Anathemata is by David Jones. North Ship is by Philip Larkin. Patterson is by William Carlos Williams. And Eros in Dogma is by George Barker. Tell me, William Carlos Williams belonged to which literary movement? William Carlos Williams belonged to which literary movement? He belonged to the movement of imagism. 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 And Philip Larkin belonged to which movement? Philip Larkin belonged to the group, the movement poets. Philip Larkin belonged to the group called the movement poets. All right? Yes. Okay. Which of the following poets were contributors to Robert Conquest's 1956 anthology called New Lines, which served as the defining manifesto for the movement? So, who contributed to this anthology, which is known as the manifesto of the group called the movement poets of 1950s? Tell me. It is A, B, D, E. Elizabeth Jennings, Tom Gunn, DJ Enright, and John Wayne. All right, Elizabeth Jennings, Tom Gunn, DJ Enright, and John Wayne. Tell me, Stephen Spender belonged to which group? Stephen Spender belonged to the Auden group of poets. Stephen Spender belonged to the Auden group of poets. All right. Next. Statement 1. The epigraph of the poem, "The child is the father of the man," was taken from Wordsworth's own earlier lyric, "My heart lifts up." Statement 2. In its first publication in Poems in 2 volumes, the poem appeared with its full definitive title, Ode, Intimations of Immortality from Recollections of Early Childhood. What would be the answer? Here, statement 1 is true, but 2 is false. Statement 1 is absolutely true that the epigraph of the poem, "The child is the father of the man," it was taken from Wordsworth's own earlier lyric, "My heart lifts up." All right? Epigraphs are very important. Do look it up. So that's all from our side for tonight. I really hope you guys loved the questions and enjoyed answering this. And we will be back again tomorrow with some more questions and some more revision for you all. Till then, please take care and keep studying. All right, and you can join our December net crash course. Not crash, it's our December net full-fledged net course. It's our December net full-fledged course. All right, do join us if you want. All right. So that's all for tonight then. Okay, take care. Do look up these things more and keep learning. All right, bye.